The novel's first image is a CD glinting in the sun, and Lisa almost steps on it when she's getting into her car. She's lugging a bunch of bags of groceries and decides to pick up the CD and listen to it, thinking that with her luck it's probably something that she'll hate, like gospel music. But then she's pleasantly surprised to find out that it's actually the story of one woman's psychic reading, and she finds herself being kind of drawn into the drama, or maybe lack thereof, of this other person's life. On any given day, the traffic moved about as well as the bowels of an 80-year-old lifetime beef eater. And Lisa has a bad habit of multitasking while she's driving, which I'm not going to do, but she likes to eat in the car and mess with the CD player and maybe text and mess with the radio. So I'm going to just concentrate on the driving here, I think, since the traffic is kind of heavy here today. Here we are at pretty much a full stop on something that's supposed to be an expressway. This is a very different part of town than the place where we just left. So this is more of a kind of a working class area, and this is one thing that sort of, I guess, highlights the divide between Lisa and her partner Steffi, because Steffi lives over in a brand new condo on the east side, and Lisa lives over here in one of the older neighborhoods on the west side. But Lisa does live in one of the more attractive blocks of this street, and she likes her house, even though it's very different.
Have we got to her house yet?
Mm-mm. It's just around this curve here. There's Lisa's house right there, and then that's Connor and Ainsley's house, the little blue one. Okay, this is the, or Lisa's favorite liquor store, because this is within walking distance of her house. And even though I would describe Lisa as a fairly highly functioning alcoholic, sometimes she makes good decisions, like walking here instead of driving after she's already been drinking. And at any given moment, she might come here and get a single beer. She really likes Narwhal and Two-Hearted Ale. And this is where she also comes for her guilty pleasure wine. She's not a sweet wine drinker, but she does love this one after a hard day. So after the gala, when she just wants to relax and kick back, this is what she drinks. And she also, when she can afford it, likes to come here and get a fifth of Wathen's bourbon. Okay, this is a particular favorite of Lisa's. So early on in the book, she makes a joke about how she wished she had just stopped at Wine Tree for a bottle of Wathen's rather than going home, because when she goes home, she has to deal with her neighbor kid Connor eating a drippy ice cream cone on her porch, and Lisa's worried about an ant infestation. So there's really nothing that Lisa thinks a bottle of Wathen's can't cure. So Wathen's, give it a try. Roasted corn and organic pork taco from a taco truck. I don't think Lisa would even eat at something like Hacienda. I think she would consider that below her. I feel like Lisa would be more interested in something sort of authentic. The place that Lisa probably would like is, I can pronounce it correctly, but La Camparina. Is because I feel like the food there would be a little bit more what she would consider more like Mexican street food. So I could see Lisa enjoying a torta and some wheat chips. We're standing in front of one of the restaurants that is featured in this book. It's right across the street from where Lisa and Steffi work, so one of their favorite places to eat is this Eclipse Tapas Bistro, and they also like Jaya's Korean food, which is right down the street there. And there's a fairly memorable scene in here where they go and have tapas and drink some sangria and some Radio Boca wine, which they call Radiohead. And Lisa gets quite intoxicated and thinks that she's just very drunk, but it turns out that she's unfortunately coming down with a bad case of the flu. But I really enjoyed writing this particular scene because I liked being able to kind of introduce the food that they had here to my readers, and it always kind of made me hungry reading about, or like writing this particular scene and then reading about it. And I also had a really nice thing happen when I was eating here shortly after I finished the book. I was eating here with some friends of mine, and one of them mentioned to the waiter that I had set a novel in Evansville and that there was a scene that took place at this restaurant, and he went back and told the chef, who seemed very pleased, and sent out a free order of churros for me. So that was really a lovely thing to have happen, and I was glad that somebody appreciated that his restaurant was being used in the book, so that made me feel very good. This is the setting for much of the novel, or it's actually, I guess, kind of the prototype for the business in the novel. Mine is called Exquisite Taste, and the real one is Just Rennie's Catering. And by the way, they have the best cookies in the whole world. I'm just going to put in a plug for those. This is also where Robert and I got married, here in the Tuscan wine room. But much of the action in this book takes place in the kitchen of this little catering company that Lisa and Steffi own together. So there's lots of scenes of them creating food together and feeding book groups and doing catered events for other people. So I had a lot of fun writing about the scenes that were set here. I got some of the knowledge for what goes on in a kitchen from my work as the principal investigator for culinary arts at Madisonville Community College. So I knew a little bit about how a catering kitchen works, and early on in the writing of the novel, I was able to go back and see the kitchen. So that was helpful to me also, just to kind of, see how big it was and what kind of space the characters had to work with. So that made it easier for me to picture them at work and doing their thing and creating all kinds of good food for everybody. And this place in real life does a wonderful job of not only making the cookies, but beautiful and delicious salads, and they have excellent risotto and pasta, all kinds of good things. So I'd like to think that the characters in my novel were as good a cooks as Chef Doug is at this restaurant.